Hello and welcome back to the review for Inception. We're on part 7. I don't know. We may not finish this today, but we're going to finish up the notes as far as I know. So, they have now entered the plane, and what I was saying before I got cut off was that Leonardo DiCaprio passed him back his passport so that he could start conversation with him, so that when the flight attendant was giving them the drinks, he gave Fisher, the target, his drink, and he slipped the sedative into the drink so that they could go into the dream. So he slips sedative into his drink. He falls asleep. They all situate themselves to position themselves for this inception to occur. They connect themselves to him and take the sedative themselves. And the flight attendant makes sure that they're all set up because they paid the flight attendant off. And lastly, they go to sleep. So they are officially in the dream realm. Now, you know that this wasn't going to go as easy as they thought it was, right? Because you know how the old saying goes. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong all at the same time. Well, let's expound on this, shall we? So, they get into the dream. Once they're inside of the dream, the thief, Mr. Sato, and Arthur get Fisher. Fisher is waving down a taxi cab. He gets in thinking he's getting in a regular taxi. The thief gets in on the opposite side. He said, "Oh, this is my taxi." He's like, "Oh, you don't mind if we just ride along with you, do you?" And then he sees Sato in the front, and Sato, I think he pulls a gun on him. So he's like, "Oop." So now he's freaking out. And you can tell that this guy naturally has a bit of a scared streak about him. Like, he's kind of not the person to go to for a fight. So he's like, "Oh, he's concerned for his safety." Pretty much. So as soon as they pull the gun on him, Cobb is in another car that he stole from somebody else. Now, as we learned in previous parts, when the dream is disrupted, something that's not there, something's there that isn't supposed to be. For instance, they're pulling people out of cars, pulling the taxi drivers out, and so on and so forth, in order so that they can take over the cab or take over the person's car, right? That right there, to me, should have been the first spiritual inkling to this guy Fisher. Something's not right, because if, to the logic of the film, as soon as you interact with a projection and it finds that you're not supposed to be there, it's going to immediately go into defense mode, which actually was happening, but it took a few moments. Okay? Now, as Leonardo DiCaprio gets in the car, Anastasia gets in, but a huge freight train drives straight up and through the middle of the dream. And as soon as this happens, all of a sudden you start seeing gunmen from God knows where. And at first I was thinking, wait, these gunmen must be coming to kidnap this guy. No, they were after him. And they're like, wait, what? These people were not projections we were expecting to be in here. What the hell is going on? So they have to go find a hideaway. And while they driving, they getting shot at and all kinds of stuff. And they were not expecting that. Leonardo DiCaprio's in a different car. They ducking, trying to figure out what in the world. And still trying to figure out where the hell did that freight train come from. Now, he knows the freight train had something to do with Maul. Because that was the freight train that was on level 2 or 4 of the dream. Of his dreams. But nobody else knows that. So they eventually find a hideaway, which I think was probably their location that they created for them to operate out of. They get in there, drive the cab in, but they know now that Sato's been shot. Sato is bleeding. Cobb is freaking out because it's like, no, this is not good because him dying. They're like, what's the problem? Just put him out. As we know, when somebody gets hurt or cut or near dies, just send him back. He says, no, we can't do that. Because of the structure that they created for this dream realm, level 1, 1 week. Level 2, 6 months. Level 3, 10 years. If they kill him, they will be stuck in limbo. Meaning his spirit will be stuck in limbo until they are able to transfer back. They're like, no. He's freaking out now because he's like, wait, hold up. How did we not know that this guy had like super marine type people as his projections as protection to him in his dreams? That's like somebody coming into my dreams not understanding that I have warriors fighting in my dream. You come and infiltrate my dreams, you're going to have fighters coming to kill you, angelic helpers coming to massacre you, and me as like the major number 1 person that's coming to take your head off. That's like, that's what it's like. And they didn't know this. You're like, wait, that's like your enemies. This is like, I'm going to tell you exactly what it is. This is like people operating in witchcraft that were hired to operate in witchcraft that were sent to send witchcraft after you, but don't know that you're a prayer warrior in the spirit. And that when they get in the spirit with you, thinking that they're going to be able to take care of a task, you come out just like I said. You got your angels that are coming to cut some stuff up. You got your warriors, which is your team that's backing you. And then you got you that's the number 1 spiritual killer. And they're like, I didn't know that it was going to be like this. Yeah. So he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I didn't read the file. There was a part in the file that said that he's been trained for dreams. And because he was trained for dreams, he has been teaching himself, and he has created a militant set of people that whenever something or if anything goes off in his dreams that was off, his projections are going to bring out a military army that are going to defend him as a safety switch to make sure he doesn't get infiltrated. Now, I don't know if that was his father that did that or it was him. But either way, they was in for some stuff. You hear me? So Cobb freaking out because now they got to figure out whether they're going to put Sato to sleep and stick him in limbo. And he's like, he ain't going to be able to take limbo. He can't be in limbo by himself. That's 10 years. And now they're realizing, like, wait, we got people coming at us with guns that are shooting. What? Why didn't you tell us that Limbo was going to do that? He's like the reason I know Limbo can do that is I've been stuck there before. So they are now discovering the fatal flaw. So they're in a real mess. They're like, we got military agents in here. I don't really want to be in here. I want to go back. But Cobb saying, we're in here. We are asleep for 1 week in the dream realm. Those mercenaries that are out there ain't gonna take them a week to get to us. So either we do what we said we was gonna do, or they gonna come in here and kill us and leave us all stuck in limbo for the next 10 years. So what do you rather do? Do what we came here to do? Or do you want to, just get stuck in limbo for 10 years? And they were like, okay, we're going to do it. They all disgruntled because they like, how did you didn't tell us? I mean, we had, but he turned around looking at Arthur like, dude, you were supposed to let us know that he had this type of training up in there. It's like coming into a prayer warrior's dream, like I just said. And the prayer warrior know how to fight. And you thinking that you coming in as a monitoring spirit using your chakra tapping or using your witchcraft and sitting up there saying, oh, I'm going to go into a dream and I'm going to go in and I'm going to go out. And then you get in there and find out that you're dealing with a whole warrior and all of their militant armies to come in there and going to take you out. It's like, I didn't know this. I didn't know this was happening up in here. Okay. So they go and start the plan. They go pull Fisher, wake him up, and they pretend that they are masked kidnappers, and they're holding him because they need the combination to the safe. They're like, I don't know the combination to the safe. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not one of the. I never knew the combination to the safe. What do you mean? Now, the safe is a safe that sat next to his father at all times. In his room. He's like, I don't know. He's like, you don't know? He's like, maybe the other guy, my uncle knows. And then this is when the forger begins to masquerade as the uncle. He sits in front of the mirror. You see him saying, pretty much talking to Cobb about what they're about to do. And he's like, gonna put my best face forward. And you see the mirror reflection turn into the uncle's face. And then he screams as if he's the uncle. And now you see him as the uncle, as they're now bringing him in to Fisher all beat up. And he's thrown in there and chained up. And he's like, Fisher, you gotta know, what's the combination? And they're like, we got an hour to get this. That's what he was telling them before he switched into the uncle's personality. We got an hour to get this information, because now with what's going on outside, we don't know how fast that they're going to get in here. So with that, we ain't got time to waste. We need them digits for that combination now. So they got the uncle in there, and then they were trying to get the uncle to talk to him to get him to get the combination from him. And he's like, I don't know. When they start hearing the shooting outside, they rush in there and they hand him a cell phone as if they're talking to a third party. And they're like, yeah, we need them combination numbers now. And he's like, I don't know. He's like, well, if you don't know what the combination is, then I need for you to say the first 6 numbers that come to your mind right now. And he's like, 5 2 this, and he says the first these six digits. He's like, okay. They slap him, knock him out, put a sheet over him. Meanwhile, they taking out the people outside. Who was it? Arthur was shooting, and he wasn't hitting on nothing. The thief comes up. He's like, you ain't hitting on nothing. Go for the target. He hits the transformer, blows 5 of them out the water. I was like, dude, you don't know what to do. And they load Fisher into the taxi. No. Taxi? No, they had a van of some sort. It was a 6-person. It's a van that holds 6 people. And the chemist takes the driver's seat and everybody else positions themselves in the chairs behind the chemist. And he's like, what are we going to do? What's our next move? We already know that we done screwed up this thing. We got to work fast. And he said, we gonna do Mr. Charlie. He's like, you gonna do Mr. Charlie? What you mean we gonna do Mr. Charlie? And they're like, no, you can't do Mr. Charlie. And Anastasia's like, who Mr. Charlie? It's like, Mr. Charlie is a skit that he do when he trying to get information. I was like, okay, what's wrong with that? It's like, it's not a good idea. The last time he used Mr. Charlie, it didn't go well. And it's like, what you mean? It's like, we ain't got time for this. And the thief, who's the forger, he like, what you mean it didn't go well? They're like, right now we're in a situation, everything ain't going, we don't need a situation that's going to make it go any worse. So what you mean it ain't going well? So what they end up doing is they all put on a mask or their head coverings. The chemist is driving. Arthur tells him, you got to drive this van as leisurely as possible. I know you're being shot at, but you can't bump this thing. You can't hit as many bumps as you normally would. You have to make it as smooth of a ride as possible to the drop point, okay? When you hit the guardrail, that is a notification that you are close to where you need to be. Okay? So he's like, all right. And he does that. The last person takes the sedative and they jump to the next dream. Before we go into that, I want to make the point of making sure I didn't skip anything that happened in the dream. We already went over Masquerader, so I don't need to go into the masquerading that the forger did. We already went over the protectors, because I already talked about that. But I will say this. Kidnapping. When you are envisioning yourself in a dream as being kidnapped, that can mean you feel isolated, you feel like you no longer have control of your life and the atmosphere within your life. So, usually, 9 times out of 10, whatever you're seeing represents what it is in reality. Sometimes what it means in reality. So if you're isolated in a kidnap situation, then that means you feel isolated in reality. What else? You feel like you're in danger. I had a dream. I had actually several dreams, especially during my time in isolation with God, that made me feel like I was in isolation. But I've had these dreams during other seasons of isolation in other parts of my life where I felt exactly that. I felt isolated. And particularly, what was the one I had? Oh, I dreamt a Clockwork Orange. I was like, what the heck? I ain't never see this. I've never seen Clockwork Orange. So God was definitely making a point in that dream to point out something. I don't even think I had looked up what Clockwork Orange, because I remember when I woke up to write down the interpretation of it, I don't even know what Clockwork Orange was. But I looked up everything else in relation to feeling like you are being held hostage or kidnapped. Okay. But it's that kind of element. So we move to the vehicles. When you are in a dream and you're driving, that means transportation, movement, and sometimes in this case they're held against your will. Funny enough, Megan Michelle did a video recently where she was talking about if you're feeling like you're being held hostage, kidnapped. Now, for me, I've had visions and dreams like this, but usually if I'm in a vehicle and I'm feeling like I'm being held hostage, that usually means I'm coming upon a battle or a defeat is about to happen. That the enemy thinks that they have the upper hand, but usually it turns around in my favor before I get to the next destination. So, with that having happened, I wanted to explain that before we slip into the next phase, which is the hotel. You see Fisher. He is sitting at the bar, and a woman with a bad wig, might I say, her hair looked off a little bit. I don't know why he chose that kind of woman, but she talking to Fisher. And he's like, were you listening to what I was just saying? And they're talking, and he's a little lost. And in the conversation, he's like, okay, he doesn't particularly know how he got to the bar talking to her, but they're having conversation, and